So good morning, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:35 a.m. this morning. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest this morning? Not hearing any. I don't believe we have any delegations this morning that I'm aware of.
No.
And just moving on to the minutes, I assume everyone's had a chance to take a look at the minutes. If there's any questions or concerns about those, please let us know. Not hearing any. Could I get a mover and a seconder to accept those minutes?
I can move.
And do we have a seconder?
I can second.
Okay. All in favor?
Can you just say out loud who made the motions for me, please, Scott?
Sean made the motion.
Matthew Schlauch seconded.
Thank you.
Okay. All in favor? Assuming all. Okay, then we can move right into Lisa and her multi-page report and everything. So Lisa, you can take it away.
Yeah, I tried to put as much into the report as I could. If anyone has any questions after I talk, obviously let me know. It's the last few weeks have been great. Starting to actually do stuff. I attended an economic development meeting by YouTube. I wasn't part of the discussion, and one of the things that came up is how are the businesses doing, and if I had been able to speak, I would have said not so good at that time. Morale was really low. There's a few businesses that said if we don't open soon, it's not good. But since then, and moving into step 1 and now step 2, things are starting to perk up. There's a couple businesses that are still very concerned, even though they are open. So we'll see what happens. But there's also a lot happening with new businesses, so I was happy about that. So I'm just going to highlight some things that I'm working on, and then I have a couple discussion points, and then we'll go from there. So in terms of radio, we were the theme weekend for 101.7 for the Canada Day weekend. We're also the business of the month for July. We've got regular radio ads on Blackburn and the Ranch. And we're trying to make them a little more fun so that people are noticing them. And so we just released step 2 ads. Did someone say something? Sorry. Okay, I'm getting some like backup, whatever that is. And I'm working on step 3 ads. So every time we get a new stage, there's different ads that kind of reflect that more things are open and that we're doing more things. I'm working on a new summer video that should be done this week. I sent feedback on the first edit. There's just a few things I wanted to change. And that, like I said, that should be up and posted at the end of this week. Got a bunch of paper ads that are happening with like Rural Route. We did one, the banner. So that those things are happening. About 6 weeks ago, I think, and Ashley can correct me if I'm wrong, there was a Perth County photo grant that was made available that I shared, and I think other people shared it. And I just, after a while when it got extended, I asked Ashley if there was any reason why the BIA couldn't be a part of that. And she looked into it and then ended up, I think, providing it to all the BIAs, I think because I asked for it. So that was really great. So today I'm weather dependent, obviously, because it's raining right now. We're going to do some shots at the chamber with me and outside. And then we're going to get about 25 professional photos that I can use of downtown, of all 3 shopping districts, and then some parks and the arena. And these will be professional quality because I take okay pictures, but I don't take great pictures. So that we can use for all of our promotionals. So that's happening starting today. Everyone should notice that our flowers are out, and we lent 4 of our planners to economic development for their picnic areas downtown. I've been asking for picnic areas for a while, talked to the mayor about it, Kim knew about it, and they had been working on it. So it just kind of worked out that we all wanted these picnic areas. And we had some planners that we could move around to donate. So the planners that we donated, Kim put trees in, just so they kind of stand out a little bit more. And then I think Kim is going to have those trees planted at the park, because they won't do well. Trees don't do well in planters indefinitely like our flowers do. So so that's happening. We've got some promotions happening, which I'm excited to finally be able to do that kind of stuff. So we're going to be doing summer sale days again, and that's going to be running from August 16th to 28th. The reason we're doing everything in August is so that we are in, at worst, hopefully step 3, but maybe even better, who knows. And so I'm just working with the banner, with the ranch, and with the chamber to promote that to businesses and have businesses participate. And we're going to be doing our daycation contest around the same time. We'll actually start it a week earlier. Last year we had a lot of interest and a lot of draw, so that's with Blackburn Radio. So those things will be happening at once. We've got a bunch of new businesses coming, which kind of still blows my mind during this time, but it's exciting. So Listowel Hypnosis had hoped to open this week, but it looks like it's probably going to be the end of the month. And they're downtown where Peak Realty used to be. Pizza Hut, I was told, is opening this week. We'll see. Barbarito, I don't have a date, but they're moving along. And I don't know if anyone saw that Williams Drainage moved starting this week. They're now where Dump Ball Services used to be, just at the end of our BIA. So they're now going to be a part of our BIA. And this week I updated the open spaces. There are only 6 right now, and only 3 are really storefront. So we've got the Jam Can location, the old Blows Travel, and then the house beside the plaza downtown by Macintosh Farms. So that used to be a hairdresser in there. And they're partially rented. So there's really not a lot of spaces here in Listowel, which is great. So that does bring up Win the Space and when we want to look at starting that program, because right now we don't really have spaces to do it, but we can get back to that. So I've been working with the chamber on a grant and an application to promote the Shop Dollar program. Right now there are $100,000 in circulation from Christmas, which we had about 250 in circulation. So they are being used, but we really want to get that $100 back into our businesses. So we want to promote to businesses that any business in North Perth can use it. We want our businesses to promote that they accept them, because they haven't been doing a super great job of that. And we want to remind people that if they have these shop dollars, they should be using them. So if we don't get the grant, our cost is going to be about $1,250, which I more than have in my funds, because some of the programs we were going to do with the chamber and with other places we're not doing. So I'm not worried about that. But if we get the grant, which I think we have a really good chance, because the chamber is giving out millions of dollars to their chambers for programs such as this, there will be zero cost to us. So I'm just fingers crossed that not only do we not have a cost, but we get even more money than we had hoped to get. So our contribution right now would be $1,250, but we already have some of that money in my home office in shop dollars, because I didn't get to use some of the shop dollars that I had planned to use at Christmas. And also the business that won the the decorating contest, they chose to do advertising versus shop dollars. So the $500 that I had put aside at Christmas for them, I still have sitting in my account. So at worst, I need to get $600 from my budget, which I'm really not worried about at all. So those are kind of the things that I'm working on. Oh, and I need to update on Memory Lane as well. So Memory Lane downtown, for anyone that goes down there, it's looking pretty bad. It hasn't really been touched in like 35 years since it was put in. And so in February, I reached out to Chris Snell and said, like, what's going on with Memory Lane? I have some beautification money that I could paint it. But who owns it? How does this work? I've had complaints from businesses, and I've had some people from the public complaining about it. So he said to contact the business owners beside it and see what they think about working with us on at least getting it painted. Contacted the businesses. They're on board to work with us on that and to work on just cleaning it up. And went back to Chris, had a meeting with him and Lyndon and Pat. It's complicated because the town owns the bottom, someone owns the top, and each business owns the sides. So it's actually not just a simple, this business agrees to pay for some, this business agrees to pay for it. It's actually kind of a mess. So it's taken us a while to get to a point where last week we all met, the businesses, Chris, Lyndon, and myself, and Pat. And now we're looking at different options on how to not maybe just paint it, but make it look nice again. So one of the things I'm going to be doing actually today, Lee was away on vacation from the facade program, is meeting with Lee today to see if it could qualify under the facade program, whether that's the business owners applying, there's an art component to the facade program, just kind of seeing, getting some quotes, and then seeing who would pay for what, like the businesses, the town, us, the municipality. So that's where I'm at. So I don't really know where this is going to go. I do have, I kind of budgeted, because I was getting complaints, to do painting. That's all I budgeted. So I just don't know, but I'm just letting you know, it looks awful. The pictures, they're hard to see now. People are using that lane to get to the businesses. I think it needs to be part of our beautification. Obviously, if there's expenses or there's concerns, I will bring it back to the board. But at this point, my plan was to stay within my budget that I had budgeted in the beautification area. So if that changes, I'll report back. Is there any questions so far? I've been talking a lot. Okay. Todd, I was hoping you could comment. I had Matt ask me about extending the sidewalks to be like a boardwalk for picnic tables downtown. And I know that's come up in the past, and it's a bit of an issue, just with the highways and with the businesses not liking it. But I said I would raise it, and I was hoping you could speak to it, because both Kim and I were a little uncertain of what came up out of that.
Well, I can try. Good morning, all. I mean, the province has a fair amount of say on what happens on Main Street and down. So Main Street and even Wallace North are, the default position generally of the province is no. So it would be kind of complicated to try to do this. We would have to think about how and where we would do it, right? certainly I'm familiar with Stratford's work on this and their knockout sort of sidewalks. But you know, out into parking, and parking has traditionally been a problem in downtown Listowel. So you know, I think there are some issues and concerns, but the paramount one is, you know, would the province permit that kind of effort? And maybe they would, you know, given COVID circumstances. Although I'm sure they would argue that we're starting to, you know, exit the pandemic's active period. So I don't have a quick answer. I can tell you that you know, I spend a lot of my time these days thinking about and even fretting about a complete downtown renewal in Listowel. You know, it is time. The infrastructure is becoming less stable, and we're seeing, you know, rough roads, and we know that there's drainage issues in the streets. You know, go back to the 1970s when the last major reconstruction of downtown streets was done. We know that Argyle is in pretty terrible shape at this point. So, you know, we are looking at the hell, pardon my word, of a complete downtown renewal in the next couple of years, I suspect. And that is a mega project that, you know, many of our neighbors have experienced, but it's ours for soon.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Todd. I was pretty sure that because it's like part of a highway too, that there's a lot of issues, and it kind of didn't go very far because of that, but I just couldn't remember and just thought it would be a good opportunity while we were meeting to just talk about that. Win the space. I told them that I would check in late August about it. I'm just looking for thoughts and ideas. Like right now, we really don't have spaces to win. That doesn't mean we won't. So I wasn't sure if we should propose a January start date like we had planned to do, like we had started this, you know, with like an April winning. And so I'm just looking for some thoughts and directions on that. I think with how busy the fall is and the holiday season is, that's the most obtainable for me, like to be able to get it done as a part-time employee. But if there's argument to start it sooner, obviously I'm open to that. I just wanted to have a discussion, which I know is hard to do on Zoom, but I'm just looking for people's thoughts on what they think. Of the 6 places, like I said, 3 are really storefront. Blows Travel, he's told me he's had a lot of interest in that space. I don't know what's going on with Jam Cam location, but it is a really great location as well. I don't expect it to be around long. So I don't know. I'm just looking for some thoughts. Todd?
I mean, you know, like you, I'm rather pleased in a sort of strange way that we have so few vacancies. It's kind of a good news story, especially as we're coming out of the pandemic, and perhaps it's a testament to the entrepreneurial interests of people in our community, and perhaps the pandemic gave them time to think and realize that they'd like to be in business in one way, shape, or form. My hunch is that we're not really going to see that much opening of business spaces, and so I wonder if even accomplishing this year is going to be realistic. I know that, you know, we have partners that we have to consider, but I think that we should be thinking about 2022.
Agreed.
I think 2022 would be best as well. There's be a lot of focus on coming out of the pandemic and shopping. We don't really want to take the focus away from the retailers with another program that we're competing with them running. So I'd say January, if we need it. I think January would probably be the best time to run it.
Okay. And just speaking to that as well, I'm kind of changing my focus, because my focus has been support local, support local, support local. And now, because I feel like we've been doing that and people are, my last couple of posts have been about gratitude and thank you. Thank you that you supported local. Thank you for your, you know, we're grateful for our community. And I think that's getting a little more traction than just the support local, because it's been done and it's being done. And then just some like promotions. So I agree. I won't message them till August, but I will propose the January 2022 unless there's anyone at this point that objects, and I can't see really anybody.
Lisa, just one thing. I don't know if, does it need to be January? Could it be March or something like that? That's going to give you more time after the holiday rush to put it together. And it might open up some more storefronts if there's those short-term pop-ups and that kind of thing. They were here for the Christmas rush. Might open more up, but it's more the rush for you coming up to the holidays in November, December, trying to get that ready for January.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that would be better. I just didn't want you guys to think I was trying to push it off. But like even a mid-February to early March start date would be great. I have a lot done, obviously, because we had launched a little, but there's still a lot to do, and I have to restart it, and I have to get my sponsors and my training, because the training I had no longer exists. And then one of our training and sponsors, they've pretty much indicated they can't do it. So I do need to get that stuff done, and it does take time. So I don't know.
I just don't see a rush for January if you could put it off and do it right. What's the kind of timeline from the start then until it's over and they're ready to go in?
So normally the program runs for about 3 months from start to end. And then they have 6 months to open. So if it started,
yeah, that would get it finished up kind of early summer, and then that gives people time to get up and ready before the fall season, the busy season kind of thing.
yeah, and the only reason why Macintosh Farms didn't open earlier is because they had that problems with Max, because they were originally going to be in that front space. They would have opened months earlier, but they had to get a new location. So I feel like 6 months is what we give, but I don't know if they would need it. Macintosh Farms obviously need it because of that issue. That was the only thing that prevented them from opening sooner. What do people think of a March date?
That sounds good with me.
Okay.
I was just going, can I just make a comment? I was just going to say that I think having it maybe February or late January is a good idea, just because then that's when things are traditionally slow, and it helps to bring more promotion on Listowel during the slower months. And I think it's good to have it wrapped up before summer, because I know the first round, that was a bit of a challenge with attendance at the training and all of that. So I think having it in February, early February, and running, or February and running for 3 months till the end of April or early May, that's a really good time.
I'll look at it. I would argue that the attendance wasn't a problem of the timing. It was that those people dropped out of the program. So I definitely don't want to have it in July because I know that was kind of a pain. But I think if I'm done by June, it would be fine, early June. So I'll look at it. There's just a lot to do, and all the people that are partners, they don't do a lot of the work. So I just have to make sure I can do it. So I think we'll say that March 1st would be kind of the latest I would start it, and if I can start it earlier, I will. Does that work for the board?
I would suggest just parking it until January, Lisa, just to put it back on the agenda then and we can reevaluate. If we
Okay.
have no vacancies come next year, we're just gonna have to reconsider it. So I wouldn't put in a fixed start date. I'd just put a date on the calendar where we would bring it back to the board to discuss again.
Okay, so maybe that's November, because that's our last meeting for the year. What do you think? Because if we are gonna do it, I can't wait till January. Like maybe we bring it back for a discussion in November and see where we're at, and then I don't know. What do you think?
How long is the pre-work for it? Like how much lead time do you need for it?
I need a bit, because I have to get trainers lined up. I have to get spaces lined up. I have to get sponsors lined up. The training is the hardest part. I mean, the application I pretty much have designed. So the month where people are applying, I can get a lot done, but I need to be able to book trainers, and that you need time. You can't do that in January and go live for March. So that's the problem. It's the trainers, and you don't want to ask people and then cancel on them. I just think that looks not great. So, and I don't have trainers because the person who did it last time is like she's no longer here, and the company that she worked for has basically said they can't commit to it. So I'm starting from scratch.
So if we're wanting to move forward with January, March, we all kind of need to decide that in the next short while, basically, to be ideal.
I think if we decided in November, because the first month of the program is just promoting and advertising. So if I knew in November, if we wanted to start in March, I could get it done, because the trainers I could start working on, and everything else I could wait till January. But
Okay, let's just revisit November.
okay. All right. So I'll tell them that we're hoping for 2022 based on space and if the program is even viable, and see what they say. Okay. So there's two other things that I wanted to talk about. We used to do a Whiteman program where we were filming, and then it would be on Whiteman TV and only Whiteman TV. And I had a couple businesses ask me why we weren't doing that again. So I looked into it again. And Whiteman TV is happy to bring me back on. The issue is that it's only on Whiteman TV. They will not let me share it on social media, our website, anywhere, but it would be on TV for the people that watch that channel. Do you guys think that that is worth it? Like, because it is time to plan and prep and film and be there. Although they do all the editing and they do all that work, but I would have to get businesses to be on it. I was thinking of it being more of a like a worky shop type thing where like a business goes on and they show people how they do something or how they can do something at home. So an example that I came up with is New Horizons Paint, that they would kind of show their product and how you can refinish something at home. Just because the experience thing is kind of what I'm reading a lot about doing. People want experiences. I just don't know if it's worth it if it's only going to be on Whiteman TV, or if you know lots of people that have interest in Whiteman TV and watch Whiteman TV. I just
Do
didn't
we
know.
do we know what kind of penetration Whiteman has in Listowel? Like, would they give you those numbers in terms of the percentage of residents that subscribe to Whiteman?
They can give me how many people subscribe to Whiteman, but the issue is they can't necessarily say how many people watch that show. So for example, I have Whiteman I've never watched it other than when I was learning about it to see if I would want to do it. So lots of people in Listowel have Whiteman. Like it's big in this community for sure. And I've been told that older generations, they'll watch it, like that's the bingo channel, and like what's happening for other areas is on that channel. It's called like What's Happening. So it would be that I would do a little bit of talking about things that are happening, and then it would go to feature a business.
This is the
I just
half-hour
didn't
show
know.
that they do?
Yeah, it's about half an hour. And we're not the only thing on it necessarily. So they will focus on other things, community events. But I wanted it to kind of, if I was to do it, to have like a business feature. So
How often is this, Lisa?
it's monthly.
And how much time do you think you would have to devote to pulling off a monthly show with them?
Probably a couple hours. Like I'd have to get a business and kind of work with that business to see what they would do, set up the filming date, go to the business, do my own filming. So I think I could probably do it in like 2-3 hours a month tops. I just don't know if people watch it. So that's the, I mean, I'm willing to try it. I just didn't know what people thought about anyone, they know anyone that watches it or does it, and the fact that we can't share it on social media, because that's, to me, would be really great. You know, take the link and share it and say watch New Horizon, and find out how to repaint, restore something in your home. Now they did say while I'm there I could film my own little bit and then encourage people to watch Whiteman TV, but that then would add a lot of work because then I'd have to edit what I was filming.
My instinct is that feels like a very small return on investment. I can't imagine you'd get a lot of viewership.
Yeah.
But of course,
so
I'm not an expert on that. That's just my instinct, my thoughts.
Yeah. I think so too. Like I'm leaning towards not, but I didn't want to turn down an opportunity without talking to you guys about it first, because it is advertising, it is promoting. So
I've heard of it, Lisa, but I've also, like you, never seen it. I guess
Yeah,
I'm kind of like Matt, to spend time and money on something without knowing what your penetration is. I'm not sure it's worth it.
yeah, I mean, I can go back to them and say, can you give me concrete example, like numbers on how many people actually watch that channel and program? And if it's decent, then consider it. But they can, at the point when I was talking to them, they could just tell me how many people have Whiteman and cable through them, which I know in this town is a lot of people, but like I said, people aren't watching that channel. So I'll go back to them and see if they can give me more concrete numbers.
Is there anybody here that has watched that channel? Because I have it and I've never watched the channel.
No,
I don't even.
I watched it.
So I wouldn't have.
Yeah, I only watched it when I was considering this program. So, okay, I'll go back to them, ask them if they can give me even like better concrete numbers on that channel, and then go from there. So the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is the OBIA conference. It's coming up in the fall. It's going to be a hybrid of in-person / online. It's going to be in September. It's pretty expensive, and I'm not sure I would get into the in-person because they're taking very few people for in-person. And I know we didn't go last year because of COVID. I have taken some online courses with OBIA this year. You'll see there's like some training costs. So I just wanted to propose that even though this is the year that I would go, that I don't go. If someone is interested from the board in going, that's fine. I just think if it's going to be online, I won't get the same as I get when I'm there, and I have been doing online courses with them this year. So just because we had kind of tentatively agreed we tried to go every other year, I wanted to bring it up because I would need permission to either go or not go because it is expensive. We budgeted for it, but I'd rather put that money into some other training or into something else for this year, and then commit to next year when we're a little more regular and I could go in person, that I go next year, or someone from the board.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. Yeah, so I just was raising it because we had agreed when I first started that we go every other year. So if everyone's fine with that, I just will not go. I think it's not worth the money this year. But I do think it is worth going. And I have been attending on Tuesdays. They have an open every Tuesday at 2 session where you can log on and you can participate on a Zoom call with any BIA across Ontario, and you can ask questions and just get feedback, and they give us updates, government pushing for COVID stuff. So I have been doing that, and that's free, and it's been really helpful. So I will continue with that when I want it or need it. And then next year we'll look at what training I can do. The last thing, it's part of financials, which is coming up. I just want to say that our budget, it's accurate in that everything that Fran or Karen or finance has is in there, but there's a few things that are not showing because they haven't got the bills yet. So our budget, as of today, we spent about half. I'm at 53,000 is kind of what I'm picturing. The beautification number is wrong. We were billed, but we shouldn't have been billed. So that Nicole's fixed that for us, which was very helpful. So just assume that that's gone, but in it is the right number, which is the 13,000 for the flowers. So my calculation is we're on schedule. We're at halfway in. We're at about 53,000, and I don't anticipate going over, but I do plan to spend as much of my budget as I can. So that's it for me. I know it's a lot, but because we're not going to see each other till September, I wanted to cover. If I'm being honest, January to May was pretty tough in this role, pretty depressing and not much to look forward to. But now that we're getting busy and I'm having things to promote and the businesses are starting to open again, it's fun and good to be doing what I'm doing. So reminder, next week, partial vacation, August 2nd, full week, and then August 22nd week, partial vacation. I think that's it for me, Scott.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. Any questions from anybody on anything that you brought up or talked about? Okay, hearing none. Next item on the agenda is the financial reports. I went through the amounts and they total up to $3,749.37. Did anybody have any questions about those accounts payable? Okay, could I get a mover and a seconder to look after those then?
I'll move it.
That was Brad. Do we have a seconder?
I can second that, Harbinger.
Arm is a seconder. All in favor? Assume that went through fine. Thank you. Moving on to the council update. Todd, if you'd be kind enough to give us an update on council activities.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Council, as usual, has been busy, and there were a few significant initiatives over the last little bit from our last meeting. First of all, of course, I think people are aware that the facade improvement program and the downtown design improvements were approved by council. I think that's the second meeting of May. And we've, I'm given to understand, and I think Kim will speak to it, that we've had a goodly number of inquiries, which is very encouraging. The results of a couple of years of work, the community safety and well-being plan was delivered to council in May. And this document is something that was required by the policing realm, if you will. The ministry, the Solicitor General, I believe, was involved in mandating that the communities create this. So it has a sort of policing flavor, but it speaks to a number of different issues, including structural and social services type issues for our community. Again, it's probably no surprise that there is a reasonable emphasis on housing issues in our communities in Perth County, and this plan speaks somewhat to that. I appear to be losing my voice, sorry. We did launch some backyard burning education, and we did announce that in the near future, council will receive an overhauled burning bylaw. This in response to a number of concerns that were expressed earlier in spring, and almost frustration on the part of residents in many places in the community for insensitivity, frankly, around in backyards. We did commit additional funds, our first commitment of funds to a seniors anti-isolation initiative called Lonely No More. Council decided to commit funding to that. It had been funded in its pilot through grant funding, and we believe in this program and in the initiative to try to relieve senior isolation. We also made a few adjustments financially. We adjusted for 0 increases in the Perth Meadow budget, so there won't be rent or lease increases in 2021. We provided comment about the text for an official plan amendment that relates to surplus farm dwellings, and this matter continues. This has been back and forth between our council and the county for a while. We received what I can only call an ugly cost increase in our insurance rates, and perhaps local businesses have seen some creep in their insurance rates. Ours was about 20% year over year, and quite frankly, I'm frustrated. We also purchased a refurbished landfill compactor. That's always exciting. We reduced some fees associated with summer sports, given the pandemic impacts and the length of the sports seasons that we anticipate seeing. We have approved, and staff has acted on, and perhaps Kim will talk about this, the notion that we should apply for a Canada Healthy Communities Initiative grant. And this one is actually intended, our thrust with this one is intended for local business. That should prove of some interest. We provided an update on the performance against the recommendations that have been made over the last 3 years now by both the mayor's task forces, the 4 of them, and the COVID recovery action groups. There were 3 of them plus an umbrella group, and we're tracking SWOT performance. I have taken note of something that I need to do this fall, and so there'll be some more action still. Most recently this week, in fact, we approved a Indigenous land statement or acknowledgement that will be included in both council and committee and board meetings that are associated with the municipality, and I think we're quite pleased that we're making some progress on that file. It was a long time coming, and in fact, one of my first initiatives in taking the chair was to try to get that moving, and finally, 3 years later, we've got something. We also received a report, and council has expressed its support and intentions for the first North Perth Pride events and activities. which will culminate in June 2022 with the North Perth Pride month and celebrations. We received the annual report from the county, but pertains to local lower tier governments as well, about the joint accessibility plan, and things are reasonably in good shape. I think, Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but there were some opportunities communicated to local businesses about the accessibility workshops and things that had been offered through the county's accessibility team.
Yes, I did it. I believe Kim did it. It was on social media, so it definitely was made available.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And we also on Monday night approved and instructed staff to publish guidelines related to the possible nucleation of the dog park in North Perth. Something that is that has given my attention when I was campaigning for mayor. I wanted to sort of comment a little bit on the memory lane activities that have gone on as well. Part of my vision and part of the work that I do relates to the beautification of towns. The facade improvement program and the design guidelines are part of that sort of expression of our efforts on that front, and I'm quite pleased with the progress we've made. I continue to feel strongly and spend at least talk time with people about the beautification of Listowel downtown as well. And so, Kim can tell you that I lean on her a little bit from time to time on this matter, and certainly I'm talking a lot about how the municipal government can be effective and partner and even set some of the vision and so forth around, a more charming, more aesthetic downtown. So there's some continuing work on that front, and the memory lane thing. Thankful that Lisa's got that over the horns, and it's certainly, I think, an important part of our business success is to create a sense of charm about Listowel that we can continue to work on. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Todd. Any questions for the mayor? Okay, not hearing any. The next item on the agenda is correspondence. I'm not aware of any correspondence. Lisa, do you have any?
The only thing we have is the board item, which is noted below, so we can put it there.
Okay. So we'll move on to an economic development update. Kim, if you could give some comment on that.
Thanks, Scott, and good morning, everyone. I'm just going to focus on a few areas, highlights of areas we've been focusing upon the last couple of months. We continue to do a lot of promotion and implementing the items of the mayor's task force and the COVID recovery groups, as the mayor mentioned earlier. And for each of those groups, it was really talking about promotion and education for businesses. So we've been continuing to share and inform and talk to businesses about different opportunities that will help them progress in that area. So we've been working on that. The picnic table dining, as Lisa mentioned earlier, we did launch that at the time of the opening when it was safe to do so. And we have implemented that across North Perth. So feedback we've had is very positive. We had really great response from residents as well as from businesses. The tables have had good use. We haven't heard any comments that, we'll continue to evaluate whether we can make adjustments or add or shift tables in different areas. So if you do get feedback or you've noticed anything, garbage receptacles are available to try and keep things clean. It's also a great opportunity for us to see for some of our potential projects. usage, and whether that's just a help justification for some of our funding applications. So it's a good opportunity for us to help serve our businesses, but also to meet the needs of residents. And we do, thank the BIA for providing, for loaning those 4 planters. It just helps to delineate the areas, because they're in parking areas, and just to ensure safety as well as just for visibility. So there's lots of different moving parts to that project. So we're glad we were able to help support in that way and continue to promote it on social media. So if you can share just to help the businesses, that would be great. As the mayor mentioned, the facade improvement program launched in June. We have had a really strong level of interest from businesses from across North Perth. So we do have applications pending from Listowel, Atwood, and Moncton, which is great. And so this is definitely a focus of our recovery efforts. The timing for this is great, and that we can help support them financially, but also help to get some visibility back to the downtowns. We have had some questions from businesses not within the CIP or the community improvement plan, looking for participation. And so right now our focus is on the boundaries within the CIP, which is a focus on downtowns, because we feel, and that was council's direction, to focus improvements on the downtown areas. We'll look and evaluate to see if it can expand, but that may need, other communities have made minor adjustments, but normally have stuck to the CIP as far as their granting and funding for that. So council did agree to fund the grant portion. It's a full grant. They supplied up to $75,000 in 2021, which is a 50% matching by the business. So it doesn't have to be the full amount. We have had some interest for people doing signage that has been, under 5,000. And so Lee has been working really closely with the businesses to answer questions and to help work them through the application process. And yeah, so there may be, I think as people are understanding the project, for some of them, they may not be able to undertake all that they're hoping to this year due to COVID, but it's really setting things up well for planning. Sometimes you don't have the budget to launch it in the same year. So it's kind of building for the future as well. So we're excited about that. The mayor also mentioned the Canada Healthy Communities Initiative. We did apply for that funding. The project that we submitted for was called North Perth Business Connectivity Suites. And the application was quite in-depth. It was lots of proof on engagement. You had to prove that it was a specific problem that was identified during COVID, how you were engaging your disproportionate population in determining the solution. And so it has been raised at North Perth Economic Development Committee, Advisory Committee, as well as during some of our recent surveys, the concerns about connectivity for smaller businesses, in particular rural businesses, including agriculture, that have had trouble as more things have moved online, including meetings or business requirements, that they just don't have the capacity of connectivity that they need. So the committee had been looking at a potential solution to that in offering suites of some structure, whether it's, so that's part of the project application, is that we would be reviewing expanding or more fully utilizing existing capacity or existing facility space that's currently not being utilized, to see if we can increase connectivity and offer space across the municipality to businesses, and or purchasing a container. So whether we look into having that made, or They do have different units that you can buy that are office space right now that are that have windows and electricity and all of those things that we could have a standalone space. So we'll look at the viability of each of those options, get good engagement from our businesses and potential user groups, and then we would be implementing it. So we did a decision on the funding application in September. We've proposed a rollout in November to end of April next year, because with some of it, it would mean construction and potential cabling and things like that that don't work so well over the winter months, depending on which solution is determined. We may still be able to, even without the funding, we may still explore ways that we can implement the program at different levels. Because I think we've been hearing that this is a concern. Our disproportionate, our group that's disproportionately impacted is small business, small rural business in particular was where we emphasized, but there's also a lot of small businesses that start their businesses from home, including women, youth. So we did emphasize that in our application as well, because those groups have definitely been disproportionately impacted by COVID compared to larger and more existing businesses. So that's an area we emphasized. There have been an increasing and encouraging, there's been a lot of increase in housing forums and workshops. And I know I've attended a few over the last month. The county offered a really great housing forum that we promoted to businesses, to developers, to staff, just looking at, there's so many different possible opportunities for housing of different levels to meet this housing need and attainable as well as affordable housing needs in the coming years. So that's something that I've been participating in. The Western Ontario Wardens Caucus, which, if you're not familiar, is an organization where all of the wardens and mayors across the Western Ontario participate in that organization. They do help to promote and emphasize economic development initiatives, and they are developing a workforce strategy. So I attended a workshop yesterday. Kristen, the CAO, did as well. We've invited local North Perth businesses to also attend, and just to get they're going to be meeting with all 15 of the member partners across the Western Ontario Wardens Caucus over the next month, and then rolling out the strategy. So that will definitely give some support for any future applications or funding that may come, and also give some focus to those efforts. So we were quite pleased about that. I'm sure Ashley will talk about the extension of the transportation funding for PC Connect, which is great news, because that was something that came out of that. The workforce strategy session was the importance of transportation, and for our younger workers and for people at the entry levels of incomes, that having reliable and flexible transportation, as well as for seniors and all different groups, that it's important to have those transportation options available. So we're pleased that the funding has extended, so we can continue to make traction and build that for the future. So I think those are the key areas I wanted to focus on. If anyone has questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Any questions for Kim this morning? Not seeing any. Move on to Ashley for an update on Perth County.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, everyone. A few of these items have been mentioned already, but I'll just provide some additional details. Starting with Housing Our Future, which was called our Inspired Solutions and Innovative Approaches event. So the Economic Development and Tourism Division hosted a virtual housing forum on June 23rd. This housing forum was solution-based, focusing on alternative and innovative approaches to market housing needs for attracting and retaining the workforce in Perth County. It was a virtual event featuring local and provincial planning tools, best practices, and real-world examples of innovation in action. A keynote presentation by Dr. A.B. Friedman capped the forum and helped send attendees away with a vision of what is possible when communities work together. We had over 60 participants who spent the morning engaging with presenters, including the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, who built the Windsor's first tiny home, Denise Van Amersfoort from Huron County, who led the development of a housing-friendly lens project, and one of Perth County's own planners, Susanna Reed. Attendees included municipal staff, developers, real estate professionals, home builders, and community partners from across the region. And this forum was the first in a series of activities around workforce engagement and attraction by the Economic Development and Tourism Division. We are really happy with how that turned out. Lisa mentioned the Snapshot program. That is the professional photography program we put on a few weeks back. Through the Perth County Snapshot program, we saw 47 businesses and business organizations across the county receive free digital photography packages to use for their digital marketing and COVID-19 recovery efforts. We delivered this program through the Community Collaboration Project through grant funding received through Digital Main Street, Communitech, and FedDev Ontario. Photographers are working with businesses currently across the county throughout the summer, and hopefully will be wrapped up by August as they reopen. Applicants were matched with local photographers with different specialties in product photography, culinary photography, and portraits. As Lisa mentioned, the BIA is a recipient of one of these photography packages, and I know your guys' photographer is native to Liverpool, so that's exciting. Next, the Ontario by Bike program. I've mentioned that at past BIA meetings, but we're reminding people about it as cycle tourism is an emerging priority for Perth County, Destination Stratford, the town of St. Mary's, as well as many of our neighboring regions. So Perth County, St. Mary's, and Stratford have teamed up with Ontario by Bike to introduce the expansion of its bicycle-friendly business certification network and how to tap into the growing market of cycle tourism. We've made a list of businesses who would maybe benefit most from becoming certified as cycle friendly. Those who are close to trailheads, who are on main cycling routes. And my summer student, Eileen, has been reaching out, encouraging them to join the network. It's totally free to the businesses to get certified as bicycle friendly. If you or anyone you know is interested in more information on this, you can find that on the Ontario by Bike website or shoot me an email and I'd be happy to go over the information with you. Next is our Diversity, Equity, and Anti-Racism Charter. So Perth County Council adopted our new Diversity, Equity, and Anti-Racism Charter on June 17th. The charter was the culmination of 7 months of work and community consultation to develop the draft for council approval. This public process included surveys, virtual roundtables, and one-on-one stakeholder interviews. The community was also given the opportunity to review the draft charter and provide recommendations prior to adoption. The charter provides a framework and lens through which Perth County can act by outlining 9 key principles and values relating to diversity, equity, and anti-racism, as well as highlighting the role of the Perth County Corporation as a policymaker, employer, service provider, purchaser of goods and services, and community partner. Anyone who's interested in learning more about the charter can visit perthcounty.ca/charter and all the information on the development process, as well as the charter, can be found there. We want to remind people that we have licenses available for our Welcoming Communities training. So this training is based, and it's the training we offered. I think a lot of BIA members were in attendance. It was held at Trillium, I believe, back in the fall of 2019. So that same training we're now able to offer online. The goal of this training is to help our local businesses and service providers become welcoming to all newcomers in the region. Together with our partners at Fanshaw's Corporate Training Solutions and Intercultural Competency Advantage Program, we look forward to ensuring the online learning experience is as easy to access and meaningful as possible. Registration for this program is totally free. It includes 3 course modules, each taking between 90 to 120 minutes to complete. And these include the essentials of intercultural competency, effective intercultural communication, and power dynamics and system discrimination. If you or your business or your team are interested in taking this training, you can send an email to myself, or you can email ecdev@perthcounty.ca with your company name and that you're interested in taking this training, and we can get you those licenses and set you up for taking the training. As Kim mentioned, we're pleased to share that the Government of Ontario has extended the PC Connect project funding for an additional 2 years beyond the initial 2023 project end date. So we're excited that this project is going to continue on into 2025. Since launch, we haven't really been able to promote and market that service all that well because we've only been able, for the most part, to promote it for essential reasons only. But as things are starting to open up and we're moving into further stages, soon we're going to be able to really market the transit system and hopefully increase ridership. And as always, at this time, PC Connect is operating with the necessary COVID-19 precautions, including a 50% reduced capacity and increased sanitization practices. The team is also working on making continuous improvements to enhance PC Connect customer service, one of which will include a booking and tracking application that is going to be coming soon. So stay tuned for more information on the PC Connect app. And last but not least, our tourism team has been working behind the scenes on a program that is helping to build and promote experiences across the county. And this program is called Discover More Adventures. So we chose this name because our tourism slogan, it's on our brochure, is Discover More. Our farm gate map and local food slogan is Discover More Flavor. So now that we're working behind the scenes on developing these immersive experiences, we landed on Discover More Adventures. So we're working with an experiential tourism specialist, as well as a professional photographer and videographer on an initial 8 signature experiences at this time. These are going to begin to launch possibly as early as next week, as well as throughout the year as we continue to develop additional experiences. So keep your eyes on our social media, local radio stations, local business websites, etc., to find out more about these really cool experiences that you will be able to book with your friends and family later this summer and into the rest of the year and 2022. That is it for my update, but I would welcome any questions if anyone has any.
Thank you, Ashley. Any questions for Ashley this morning? Okay. Moving on, then we have the board update and recruitment topic. Before we do that, I see Nick is on here, and I just wanted to welcome Nick to the board and thank him for his interest in joining us and bringing his knowledge and stuff to us. I've read his background on the ranch website. I don't know if Nick has anything he wants to offer or Any opening comments on joining the board?
No, just thanks for having me. Sorry I was a little late this morning, but I'm always here for anything you guys need. So looking forward to getting involved.
Okay. Thank you, Nick. We're looking forward to seeing you in September. We can hopefully meet in person. So board updates, Lisa, do you want to talk about, there's two things I sent out yesterday, just a thing about board member recognition. That was sent to the board members themselves. So if anybody wants to talk about that, I think there's a policy that Lisa would like to put in place or have some direction on and how to go forward. And then we have the position of vice chair that unfortunately we need to fill. So those two topics right now.
Yeah, and I'll just say, like, we're just doing board related stuff, so Kim and Ashley, don't feel like you need to stay on for this part. If you have something else, you can head out. That's all we have left on the agenda, so it's up to you. You can stick around, but I know you guys are both busy, so we have an application as well for a new board member. Did you say that, Scott? Maybe you did. Okay, but yeah. So first we have a board member application. As everyone knows, Mark had to leave the board, unfortunately due to his health. He is currently still in the hospital, and it doesn't look like he will be coming home. So obviously our thoughts are with him. Tarbush, Geller and Associates obviously feels that being a part of the board is very important, and they have sent an application for a new member from their organization. I am not going to say his name correctly, but I will do my best. Alexander Makchinov, he goes by Alec. Has recently joined Tarbush. He's a lawyer, and he is asked to join us. He came to Canada to do his law degree and stayed. So he's considered a new immigrant, but obviously he is here. He's living in Listowel, which is also great. And he is a lawyer there. They have sent a letter. I'll just read it. Was born in a small village in Ukraine. After living in Ukraine, I moved to England, where he graduated from Oxford Brookes University in 2017. He then moved to Canada in 2017 and graduated from Osgoode Hall Law School. He has a master's of law from there as well. As an international lawyer, he completed the National Committee of Accreditation in 2019, as well as law practice program at Ryerson in 2021. He was called to the bar in 2021 and now resides in Listowel. He speaks several additional languages such as Ukrainian, Russian, and Polish. And through his obsession with travel, he has also limited proficiency in Arabic and Spanish. He likes gardening, cooking, hiking, and exploring Ontario. He's currently a member of the Human Services and Justice Coordinating Committee and the Custody Network and the Anti-Racism Committee. I think he would be awesome to have on our committee. He brings a different perspective. And Tarbush, Geller, Dave Dickey, who is now the president and owner of the head lawyer there, has sent a letter saying they'd like Alex to act as a representative of Tarbush, Dickey, Geller and Associates as part of the Listowel BIA. So I would just like to start with that. Scott, you can take over from that, and maybe any discussion, questions, and then maybe we can move forward with a motion if people are open to that.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions or concerns about that nominee to be on the board? It sounds like he's smarter than all of us, so I'm not sure that's, well, I guess that's always a good thing.
Yeah. He's
So
also
we need to
part of
put forward a
the,
motion. Sorry, Lisa.
I was gonna say, he's also part of the Multicultural Association. He's been helping with that as well, which I think when we're looking at diversity and inclusion, it's just gonna be really great to have him on our board.
Okay. We need a motion then to advance his application to council. Is that correct? Okay, so if we get a mover and a
I'll make a
second on
motion.
that.
And I'll second.
Okay, so Matthew and Brad second that. All in favor? Okay, that's carried.
Great, so I will give that to Pat, and the next council meeting, she'll present it. I don't actually know when that is. Nicole, do you know? Can't hear you.
Sorry, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. So the hope is that it goes through. Pat already asked me about it, so I don't think it should be an issue. And then Alex would join our team for our September board meeting. Is the hope? Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Scott.
No, just the next topic would be the board member recognition.
Yeah.
And the two policies that I sent around yesterday. If anybody wants to discuss those, if anybody has any thoughts on those. I noticed that Todd has dropped off, and maybe having Todd on this discussion would have been a good idea, as we're obligating him to do something, but just discuss away if there's some ideas on that, or if we need to do it, should do it.
I don't know if there's any need to do it. The town already does the appreciation dinner every year, right? So I think for most people, that's probably thanks enough. Sometimes, I mean, having that extra desk clock with a plaque on it, I don't think is going to inspire anybody to stick around longer. I would just be happy with the dinner, and if you want to do a letter or something when someone resigns or retires, that's about all I would do.
I
Do you
agree with
need-
Sean.
I also tend to agree with them.
Okay, so basically I'm hearing that the gift one is completely off the table, which is good.
Yeah.
So then it's just whether we want to do the letter or we just focus on the appreciation night, which I did put in the policy, so.
I'm fine with either letter or no letter. It doesn't matter to me. I think we should push the onus off on Todd, those that Todd has to do it.
I think that makes sense.
What makes
Okay.
sense? Sorry.
Have a letter from the mayor thanking the volunteer for their time on the board.
Okay, so after, like, no matter how long they've been on the board, the policy I have written right now is that if you do 1 term or 2 terms, you get a letter from the board chair, but 3 or more terms, it's from the mayor. But maybe ask if it's just from the mayor, no matter how long it is.
I don't know if that matters a whole lot. I think it would be nice from the mayor for any length of time, maybe, for the amount of time it takes for signature.
Okay, so I can talk to him and move forward on this. I'll adapt this a little bit and then I'll talk to him. And if it's not and probably I'd have to show this to Pat as well. And then if everybody's okay with it, hopefully for September, I can bring it back.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay.
And then the last topic is just the appointment of a vice chair. Unfortunately, with Mark's condition right now and not being part of the board, we do need someone around just as a vice chair going forward. So if anyone has given some thought to that and would like to nominate someone, or would like to nominate themselves even, that would be good. Don't all speak at once. You really don't have to do anything.
Let's make the new guy the next vice chair.
Yeah, it's fine.
I agree, Nick.
I'll do it. It's fine. It's not a problem.
Nick has
You're
already
accepting, Nick?
offered.
Yeah.
Okay. I assume everyone's in favor of that. Can I get a mover and a seconder? I see a lot of nods, so we'll say Matt.
I move for that.
Brad moved it, Matt seconded it, all in favor? Congratulations, first meeting, you're now vice chair. Perfect.
And also Nick has agreed, which I'm going to take him up on it, just to meet with me and talk about our marketing and what we're doing, since, you know, that's kind of his area. And so we'll consider that part of his vice chair duties. So that's great. So sometime Nick and I will sit down and get together. Just go through the plan, because he hasn't really spent a lot of time looking at it like you guys have, and then maybe make some changes and some updates and some different things for 2022. So I'm excited to sit down with Nick and get his expertise.
Okay. Is there anything else, Lisa, that we missed or forgot?
I don't think so. I feel like we covered a lot. I've got some good direction for the rest of the summer. With me having my vacation and the busyness of summer, I think I've got more than enough to keep me going till September when I see you guys next. Nicole, our admin, will be off, I think for three weeks, Nicole. But I'm around most of the time that she's off. So between the two of us, we'll keep any messages or questions or comments coming in from the public. We'll handle it. And she's mostly off in July and I'm mostly off in August. So it will work out.
Okay. I don't believe there's anything else. So if we move to adjourn, if I could get a mover on that. Brad and a seconder, Matt, all in favor, and we'll see everybody in September, hopefully in person.
Was that September 8th?
Thanks, everybody.
Did I hear?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's September 8th at 7:30. Hopefully at council chambers in the municipal admin office. We'll just have to look at it in numbers. They haven't released step 3 guidelines yet and what that looks like. And they also haven't said how long we'll be in step 3. All the other steps we knew would be 3 weeks. So if the space doesn't work, Nicole and I will look at that, then we might have to move it to the arena like we did before, but hopefully not, just because it's easier for all of us if it's at the town office. So yeah.
Sean, just
Okay.
one quick thing before you go. Pat would like to speak with you, Sean. If you could just hang on.
See y'all.